So when we first had to pick up a manuscript, there was a bunch on the table, and I was trying to find one that looked like it didn't have too much writing because I knew that we'd be transcribing, but I also wanted something with sustenance so that when it came time to figure out what manuscript I had, I knew more was better, but not too much. So I picked one with a nice design. I didn't really think anything about it. And then after transcribing it, probably took 10 hours because I had no idea what I was reading. And the fonts that I had, the letters are so close together, and an I and a U and a Q, they all look the same to me, and I had no idea, and I also don't speak any Latin, so that didn't help at all. So then I figured out, after lots of transcribing, and I stuck it into Google, I came up with Psalm 62 and Psalm 66, which meant nothing to me because I don't know why someone would have two psalms that are not chronologically in order. And I tried searching many different books and websites to figure out when Psalm 62 and 66 would be used together, but I still had no luck figuring out how they were related. So then finally, about probably the very end of November, before we had to put it all together in December, I found in our course textbook actually a description of the Book of Hours, and from the Office of the Dead, Psalm 62 and 66 were actually used during lauds, and they were also used during prayer, funerals and prayer services, since this is for the Office of the Dead. So it was really neat to see all this work that I had accumulated actually worked out in my favor, and I was able to figure out what they were. Okay, so as a project manager, I have to have excellent communication skills. At the beginning of the project, I stayed very quiet because I wanted to see where everyone would be. So I think at the beginning, I didn't let my strong communication skills show. I'm also highly organized in all aspects of my life. So I also wanted to make sure that that wouldn't hinder the project. I wanted to make sure everyone had freedoms within it. So I think as the project went on, I was able to step in and be a little louder and say, okay, this is where it needs to go. And so I think I was able to work on my organization and communication skills. And as a project manager, you have to really be okay to make the quick decisions, and maybe people will be uncomfortable or sit in discomfort, but someone needs to do the job to say, okay, this is working or this is not working at all, we need to change it, which is the problem with every group project. Sometimes people sit back and don't say anything, and then the project goes nowhere. So I think in any group project, it's always important to have someone that you say is the manager so that you can make sure everything is going on the right track. I think understanding history outside of a textbook is important. A lot of the times when I tell people I'm a history major, they say, oh, so you're just reading textbook, that must be really boring, or you're just writing papers. But history goes beyond that. You know, everywhere you go, every plaque you read, every museum you visit, every landscape that you look at tells a story. And I think being able to tell a story with our project and these manuscripts that we come across that meant nothing to us because they were in Latin, we didn't know anything, and now we understand every story that they have, being able to showcase that shows how important history is, not just to us because we're history majors, but really to everybody.